Hello, I'm Will from FRC Team Spyder 1622, and in this video, I'm going to do a brief overview of Java concepts that you need for use in FTC programming with Android Studio. Now, for this video, since we are just going through Java, I'm going to use a browser-based IDE called Replit instead of Android Studio, since it's a lot simpler to manage. All you need to do to get onto Replit is head to your browser, type repl.it, and make an account. I already have one, so it took me to my home page. Once you create an account, create a new project, select Java as the template, and then name it whatever you want. First, let's go over variables. Variables are used to store objects and can store a few different types, including strings, characters, integers, booleans, and numbers. Start by going in your main method and stating the type of object and its name, such as integer num, and then set it equal to whatever value. Make sure you don't forget the semicolon on the end. Next, we have loops. Loops iterate through a piece of code, so you don't have to type the same thing over and over again. To create a for loop, you're going to type for, and then in these parentheses, you're going to create a starting value, which is int I equals 0. A condition for the loop to keep running, which is basically an ending value. So I less than, let's say I want it to run 5 times, I less than 5. And then an increment. So in this case, we're going to increment by 1. A shorthand to do that is just I++. Then curly braces. This is where all the code will go. To create a while loop, you're just going to type while, and then in parentheses, whatever condition you want for the loop to keep running. If you want it to go the same way as a for loop, you could create a starting value outside the loop, like this, and then inside the loop, inside the condition, you'll have I less than the ending value, and then an increment. Notice how these two loops do the exact same thing. Now we have conditionals. Conditionals are statements that will run if a certain condition is met. To a conditional, type if, and then in parentheses your condition, then curly braces. To add more than one condition to check if multiple things need to be true, you can use 2 ampersands, such as this, for and, as in this will only run when both of these conditions are true. And then 2 vertical lines represent or, as in only one of these needs to be true for these to run. If you want something else to run if this condition fails, then simply after this if statement, add an else statement, and then another if, stating your other condition. And then if you want to accompany all other conditions, then simply state else, and then the rest of the cases will go in here. Next, we have methods. To create one, just go outside of this main method and state public static, depending on your use case for it. Then its return type, in this case, return a double, and then the name. Then parentheses containing all of your parameters, such as this. To add more parameters, state the type, name, and then separate each one with a comma. If you have none, you'll just leave it blank. Then curly braces where all of your code will go. if you're returning something, don't forget to say return blank at least somewhere in your code. If you're not returning something, this will just be void. To call upon your method, say as if you were to print it, you can just type the name of the method and then the two parameters listed. Finally, there are classes. Each class must have its own file, so to create one, you have to create a new file with classname.java. And then in here, you have to say class, and then whatever you named it. In your class, you'll have a couple instance variables, depending on what it is. So for example, humans, well, you're going to have a name. Now, and these will be private, since you are just using these in the class. Then you could also have an age. Maybe a height. You can also make a constructor so this class is accessible anywhere outside of it. To create one, you can do public and then the class name. And then your parameters will be whatever these are. So string name, int age, int height. And then this constructor will change all of your instance variables to whatever someone called this. So you would say this.name, specify it's the instance variable, equals the parameter, and then same with all of the other ones. This class can also have getter and setter methods, which will return your instance variables and change them respectively. To create a getter, you will write public and then whatever type instance variable it is, and then get, and then whatever the name of it is, just so it's really easy for people to know it's a getter, and it'll just return name. It's like that. Then to create a setter, you'll create another public method, but this time it'll be void, since you're just changing the instance variable. And then set whatever the name of it is. And then in here, you actually have a parameter. Basically doing the same thing as your constructor, but just for one instance variable. Like this. To use this in the main class, we're going to have to import our file that we just made. And then we can create a human by saying human. And then human name equals new human with whatever instance variables you had in your constructor. And to use the methods, you can just call on them as if they were part of this class. But you would say the object dot, then the methods from that class. That is all for this Java overview. This is everything you need to know for FTC programming with Android Studio. Goodbye.